This meeting is being recorded and/or transcribed.
No, they didn't. Okay. Chris, are there any additional items need to be added to the agenda?
Nope.
Any thing taken off the agenda?
Nope.
Okay. We will call the November 23rd, 2020 Board of Public Works and Safety to order. Seeing that there's no adjustments to the agenda, we'll move on to our consent agenda.
Mayor, before you do that,
Yes?
do you mind taking a roll call of everybody that's online?
Sure. For any of those online, can you please state your name for the record, please?
Jason Taylor, Director of Engineering.
Eric Fessel, Director of Public Works.
Eric Steiner, Assistant Director of Ops for Public Works.
Hatem Meki, Assistant Director of Engineering.
Okay.
Tabitha Miller,
There we go.
Director of Fleet.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mayor, I know that this is Jason Taylor. Leonard Strickland with Verizon is also on the call for the 5G items.
Okay. Very good. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff. Is there a second? Second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to resolutions. We have a request approving the special purchase of 0 clients. There he is.
Greetings. For the record, Tracy Gainer, IT Director for the city. Before you is just a request that exceeds my purchasing authority. We have a fleet of devices that are known as 0 clients. This gets into the world of virtual desktops. The city offers PCs in a myriad of ways, laptops, desktops, also virtual machines, which offer a lot of advantages and have certainly been very fortunate to have in the time of the pandemic and decentralized workforce. But for a lot of our workforce, we have about 150 or so devices throughout the organization that replace a traditional PC. They're much smaller, much less expensive. They don't have anything locally installed on them, so they're much more secure.
You've been muted. To
And they're very
unmute
easy
yourself,
to
press
replace.
*6.
And in our case, our fleet of 0 clients are about 8 years old, so they're approaching end of life anyway. But our particular platform that we use is a VMware platform, and they have basically changed the protocol that those devices use. In the past, we used PC over IP, which was common 8 years ago, and has now been replaced by a protocol called BLAST, which is more intended particularly for doing, I guess, higher bandwidth things to these endpoints when you get into virtual meetings and video streaming and things of that nature. So the PC over IP protocol is no longer supported at the end of the calendar year. And due to some savings we had on some other projects and some pretty aggressive pricing, we worked with a company called Tenzig, evaluated, several, got a frog in my throat. We evaluated several different manufacturers and got discounted pricing from the manufacturer directly. But in lieu of having to set up a new vendor, they allowed us to work with our normal distributor and get the same pricing. And this is on a GSA schedule, so this equipment has been vetted. So just a request to replace our existing fleet.
Well,
Happy to answer any questions.
Tracy gathers himself. I know he gets emotional about these.
Oh, that's it. I'm so passionate.
Is there, are there any questions for Tracy in regard to this purchase? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Jeff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Tracy. Next is request to approve a supplemental agreement number 5 for engineering services along State Road 37 from 126th Street to 146th Street. Mecky or Jason?
Just bear with us 1 second. I think folks participating just lost sound.
You are no longer muted.
Jason or Mecky, are you on the line and can you present this agenda item?
Yes, sorry, we lost sound for a short minute.
Yes, is this the second one for 37?
This is item 7, the supplemental agreement number 5.
Yes, I'll be presenting that one. So this is the request to approve. For the record, this is Hatem Mekki, Assistant Director of Engineering. This is the request to approve supplementary agreement number 5 for engineering services on State Road 37. This is for a supplement of a zero net change to DLD's contract. This is basically reappropriating the remainder of the monies in DLD's contract from different phases of the contract to appropriate it for the 141st interchange. So this is just a moving of monies from one line items to the other, so it'd be easier for the invoicing and tracking of all services. So the staff recommends approving the changes to this agreement, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, so just to be clear, there's no net financial consequence to the city. This is just moving the cost allocations to 141st Street. Is that correct, Mecky?
Yes, that is correct. There is no net change. There is no increase of the costs to the fees. It stays the same.
Okay, is there any additional questions?
No.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to the next resolution, it's a request to approve city utility reimbursement agreement with Vectren Energy. Mecky?
Yes, again, for the record, this is Hatem Mekki, Assistant Director of Engineering, and before you is the city utility reimbursement agreement for Vectren Energy. This is also for State Road 37, and this is for the Vectren reimbursable relocation along 131st and 135th Street intersections. We've worked extensively with this utility to reduce the costs for their relocation on 131st Street. We've managed to work together with Vectren to reduce the costs from $2.4 million to $1.8 million for this reimbursable relocation agreement. If there is any questions, I'll be happy to field them, and the staff recommends the approval of this agreement.
All right, thank you, Mecky, for your hard work on this, and also Vectren's cooperation reducing the reimbursable expense by $600,000 is not a small amount, so I appreciate all of your efforts on that. Are there any questions from the board? No. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mecky. Next is a request to approve the 2021 city landscape contract. I assume Eric Steiner, Assistant Director of Public Works, is going to present this.
That is correct. For the record, Eric Steiner, Assistant Director of Operations for Public Works. So our current 3-year city landscape contract with Brightview will be expiring at the end of 2020. We have made many landscape improvements to the right-of-ways over the past several years, including bringing our flower program in-house this past spring due to COVID, resulting in savings of over $300,000 for the city. With the scope of work changing significantly, we wanted to seek competitive bids for 2021 and future years. We advertised and received bids from the following companies with the 2021 pricing. Wild Ridge Lawn and Landscape for $195,538.60. Brightview Landscapes for $204,705.30. Hiddle Landscape, $272,475.05. And Double Eagle Turf Management for $441,000, $784.35. We also included an option to extend the contract for an additional 2 years beyond 2021, or cancel after 1 year. So if there's no questions, we recommend moving forward with Wild Ridge Landscape for the 2021 city landscape contract.
Thank you, Eric. Questions for Eric? I guess I had one question. That seems like quite a spread in the bid. Are you at all concerned that your low bidder missed anything from the bid specs?
No, I'm not, honestly. They were about 9,000 lower than Brightview. And Brightview's had the contract, for a number of years. And I'm really comfortable with Wild Ridge, as I've, worked with past employees of that organization in my previous job. So I'm very comfortable with where they're at on that number.
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff. Is there a question, Jason?
Yeah, just, there's a statement that Eric made about the scope significantly changed. So are we outsourcing more than what we insourced this past year? Did Eric comment? And so what was the?
Yeah, no, so that's a good question. A large portion of the contract is our flower program that we do in the medians, spring, summer, and fall. Spring flowers, summer flowers, and fall mums and all that. We, with COVID, when COVID hit back in the spring, we were looking to ways to reduce our spend out of MVH. And this was one avenue that we saw that we could reduce our spending pretty significantly. And so we took the flower program in-house. And so our Parks Department actually helped out with the flowers this year, the summer flowers. And we did not plant any fall flowers, saving quite a bit of money there. So that's how we reduced the cost impact of that.
So am I hearing we're not proceeding forward with the flower program any longer?
We're doing it in-house.
Okay, so we're doing it in-house.
And
All right,
it's I would say it's not to the extent that we were doing contractual, but until we find out where gas tax revenue ends up, we felt it best to kind of pull back, if you would, and do as much in-house as we can to preserve the money we do have to repaving streets.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we have a motion by Jeff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next is a request to approve continuous diamond grinding of concrete pavement. Eric?
Yeah, so again, Eric Steiner, Assistant Director of Operations for Public Works. So over the past year, the Streets Department of Public Works has saved the city over $1.3 million repairing concrete joints on two of our main thoroughfares, namely Allisonville Road, both north and southbound between 96th Street and the River Glen Golf Course, as well as 116th Street westbound between Brook School Road and Hoosier, not to mention other smaller problematic areas throughout 116th. The last step in the concrete joint repair process is to continuous diamond grind the aforementioned concrete pavement from curb to curb to create a smooth driving surface for residents and further preservation of a costly asset. The segments of road we are proposing to have ground or diamond ground include 116th Street westbound from Brook School to Hoosier, as well as both northbound and southbound Allisonville from 116th north to the River Glen Golf Course. The grinding of the operation will be performed. They take off about a quarter inch of, at a max, a quarter inch of surface. And at the time of construction, there will be temporary lane closures and daytime detours to allow crews to grind the center of the roadway. We advertised and received one bid from Diamond Coring in the amount of $227,628. we recommend moving forward with them. And if I can answer any questions as you see fit.
Eric, this is Scott. Since this was the only bidder, is this around what you thought the engineer's estimate would be, or what you guys approximated the cost to be?
That is correct. Yes, exactly. And honestly, they're pretty much the only vendor, or the only contractor who does this type of work. They're out of Chicago, and they do a lot of the NDOT work around Indianapolis, down on 70 and 465, and out by the airport. They've done a lot of that work, so they're very legit.
Any additional questions for Eric?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Eric. I assume you're on for the next one as well as a request to approve special purchase of high-speed garage doors, bay heaters, and garage air curtains for city services COVID testing site.
Yes, sir. So again, Eric Steiner, Assistant Director of Operations for Public Works. So to further help our drive-through COVID testing site at the City Services Building function at a top level throughout the winter months, we are seeking approval to replace the 4 current garage doors with high-speed garage doors and operators. The current garage doors and operators are original to the building, more than 25 years old, and are well beyond their life cycle. With the amount of testing the Fishers Health Department is performing daily, we need to make sure we have reliable, functional garage doors in place to help keep testing moving forward, as well as keep heat in the Bay Area. The proposed doors will raise at 24 inches per second and have clear slats to see cars wait in line during the cold winter months. We received 3 quotes for this job function. Overhead Door Company, $98,471. Midwest Garage Doors, $76,195. And Commercial Doors of Indiana for $72,220. In addition to the high-speed garage doors, we are seeking approval to replace the current bay heaters and install 4 garage air curtains. Currently, we are renting a diesel-powered flameless heater, which is a vast improvement during the 30 to 40 degree days. However, as temperatures in the winter can reach single digits, we understand the current heating setup will not keep the Bay Area temperate during cold wintry days, risking damage to the wet fire suppression system in the bays. And again, the current bay heaters are original to the building, more than 25 years old as well, and do not provide sufficient output of heat. So replacing the current bay heaters and adding air curtains at each garage door, entry and exit, will help us maintain a sustainable temperature throughout the winter months and beyond. We reached out to 2 different vendors, which include Lehman's and Frigi. We have received 1 quote from Lehman's for the amount of $74,293. And Lehman's has performed HVAC work for us over the past couple of years at a number of our fire stations, including 94, 95, 96, 91, and now 93. Both Lehman's and Commercial Doors of Indiana will perform their work after hours, so we don't have to impact the COVID testing going on currently. We recommend moving forward with Commercial Doors of Indiana for the installation of the high-speed garage doors for the amount of $72,220, and Lehman's for the installation of the bay heaters and garage air curtains for the amount of $80,715, resulting in a total price of $152,935. And I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
No. The funding for this, you said COVID appropriated, so.
CARES Act funding that we received from the state to be able to fund for this.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is a request to approve special purchase of a 2021 Pierce Saber pumper. I assume Tabitha, this would be yours?
Afternoon, Tabitha Miller with Fleet.
Go ahead, Tabitha.
Requesting the approval of the board to purchase a 2021 Pierce pumper for the fire department Funds were approved through the 2021 fleet loan that council approved earlier this year. We will be purchasing it off of a already in place IFD bid, which provides us significant savings of about $32,000.
Great. Any questions for Tabitha?
So Tabitha, is this an addition to the fleet or a replacement?
It will be a replacement.
Okay. And what station will be home to?
This particular truck will be placed at Station 91.
So back
Station
here.
91's truck will go to Station 96. And that truck will go to pool, and the pool vehicle will be disposed of.
Fire trucks never die.
They never die.
They just end up
They
somewhere
do not
else.
die.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is a request to approve an
Thank
MOU.
you.
Thank you, Tabitha. The next is a request to approve an MOU for certain property located at 8939 Technology Drive for the Fishers Health Department. Chris, do you want to handle this one?
I will. For the record, Chris Greisel, attorney for the city of Fishers. Before you here this afternoon is an MOU with HG 8939 Technology LLC, which is the property owner of the property listed at the address that the mayor just read. As you may be aware, the city's health department has opened a second site for our testing facility, which is located at this subject property. This MOU is going to get us initially set up there as a health department to establish the second site before a full-fledged lease is in place. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Chris?
So we're opening a second site. I know we're maximized about 650 tests a day. So this additional site's going to enable us to test how many daily?
The 650 would include, that
Okay.
includes this new site. So we can do 500 back here and 150 there.
Gotcha.
And we're actually not limited by our site, we're limited by our lab.
Okay.
The lab is only allowing us to test roughly 500 or so a day until they can get their capacity up more. They're reserving as much capacity as they can for the hospitals that need to get people tested prior to ours.
So with that being said, the facilities, the two, what would our maximum capacity be if we had no lab restrictions?
If we had no lab restrictions, I think we could easily do, depending upon people's toleration for sitting in line,
Yeah.
we could probably do 1,000 a day.
Gotcha, almost double.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is a resolution approving the First Amendment to our Master Services and Purchase Agreement with Axon Enterprises. Chief?
For the record, Chief Ed Gephardt, Fishers Police Department, and there's two Axons, so I'm assuming this is the body camera one, Mayor.
That's correct.
So yes, we have a extreme need in the police department to replace several of our tasers. About 65 of them have come to my knowledge that are not repairable and are about to be out of function for the police department. Axon has bought Taser International, so I have no choice but to move this way unless we want to take tasers off the street, which I don't advocate for. In correlation to that, Axon is providing more services that I think our city is interested in, i.e. the taser itself. If it clears in the line of duty, it will turn on the body cameras that are equipped with our officers, allowing all those interactions to be filmed and recorded. In addition to that, I'm adding equipment onto each holster of each officer, so when their weapon clears the holster, the body camera will also activate and record those accordingly. And we are receiving the new body-worn camera 3s, which were already scheduled and slotted for anyway. In year 3, we're just moving it up. The first 2 years of the contract will remain the same, which is already budgeted for, but the 3 years out after that will obviously need an increase in my budget, which I've already discussed with the mayor. The entire contract is about $949,000 for the 5 years in total.
Any questions for the chief?
So just one I assume this is wireless, so it's a Bluetooth connection, so there's no additional wires required that the officers have to wear?
No, no additional wires. It's all synced
Great.
up through the officer.
Great.
Any other questions?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Next is a resolution approving an MOU with the United States Marshal Service. Chief?
Yeah, once again, Chief Ed Gephardt for the record. We are continuing our endeavors on violent gun crime in the city of Fishers in correlation to the city of Indianapolis. In doing so, the U.S. Marshals have stepped forward to offer us a part-time position for one of my officers to be synced up with them. So the individuals that we come across that are obtaining illegal firearms and weapons, it'll move us to the top of the list to work with them to be able to track these individuals down if warrants are issued for their arrest. Also, their manpower will come up here and help us if we have lost children or anybody at risk in our community. We figure it's a good stepping stone to kind of test out the waters with the United States Marshals to see if it's a direction we want to go full-time.
Questions for the chief?
Nope.
This is being in conjunction, we're already on the task force. We have another task force, I believe, is that right?
Yeah, that's the CJIC or Crime Gun Initiative Task Force. That's actually officers working on the cases, and this kind of brings us 360 degrees. We're in on the cases. We capture the weapon off the street. We're in on the cases. Now we have the means to track down the people that possess them or have warrants for them.
Great, thank you.
If there are no other questions, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can't do both.
But I like the program.
Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Too excited. Chief.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Chief.
I have one more. I don't know if you want to do it now. Is the interview rooms on the agenda now or no?
So I included the interview rooms with the Axon First Amendment, so they got both Axons in that First
We're
Amendment.
good.
It's all in one item.
Thank you guys for your
Thanks,
time.
Chief.
Thanks.
All right, for the residents in the audience, I appreciate your patience as we got through our procurement side of Board of Works. And as now has become a regular part of our agenda for the last, Chris, probably 4 months, is the conversation around small cell tower sites. Some of these have been here before previously and been considered and talked through. Others are new, and so typically what we do is we go back to the ones that we tabled, bring those back for conversation first, and then we entertain the introduction of new small cell towers going forward. Chris, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add before we get started?
Sure. For those that are new to the process, the only thing I would state, like I have before every meeting, is, the city's regulatory authority with respect to 5G is extremely limited, and it's largely preempted by federal law. And under the Telecommunications Act, Congress tasked the Federal Communications Committee, the FCC, with creating rules for the implementation of telecommunications which were consistent with the act. And the Telecommunications Act prohibits state and local governments from regulating the placement, construction, and modification of personal wireless service facilities on the basis of the environmental effects of radio frequency emissions to the extent that such facilities comply with the regulations contained within the Telecommunications Act. In Indiana, the placement of a small cell facility and the associated supporting structure in the public right-of-way is considered a permitted use and is exempted from local zoning review if the total height of the structure supporting the small cell facility does not exceed the greater of 50 feet measured from grade, or the height of any utility pole in place within 500 feet plus an additional 10 feet. With respect to the construction, placement, or use of any small cell facility and the associated supporting structure, the city is prohibited from limiting the placement of small cell facilities by minimum separation distance or maximum height, imposing unreasonable requirements regarding the maintenance or appearance of the small cell facility and associated support structure, limiting the duration of any permit that is granted, prohibiting an applicant from locating a small cell facility, wireless support structure, or utility pole in a residential area. In accordance with Indiana law, the city has established a waiver process whereby telecommunication providers may seek to deploy small cell facilities in residential areas through our board, which we're here today to discuss. Consistent with the waiver process the city has established, excuse me, the act provides that the permit authority must establish that waiver process to address requests to install new utility poles or wireless support structures within the underground utility areas that have been designated by the city, which the city adopted on April 28, 2017, and later amended through subsequent processes.
Thank you, Chris. So we will start this afternoon with River Highlands, and Tammy, I believe you're on the phone and are going to run through kind of a summary of what's happened since our last conversation around these tower sites. So Tammy, go ahead.
Mayor, Tammy is not in today, so this is Jason Taylor, Director of Engineering. I will be presenting. For River Highlands, previously it was brought to the board on October 15th of this year. And at that time, one of the structure locations was approved, and that was 7466. And then the second structure located within River Highlands was 7421. That one was at a mid-block location. The board at the time requested Verizon and the HOA and engineering department to go back, review it, see if it could be shifted to the north where that yellow pin thumbtack is at the intersection. And that's the intersection of Glen Vista. And Verizon was able to accommodate that. Since then, the resident that is located at that intersection has provided additional information to show that it is actually impacting their out their front picture window due to the placement of their house on their lot, being that it's at a corner and it's diagonally placed. So the HOA has requested that prioritizing these, one, they have made note that they are not in favor of any 5G cell structures in their neighborhood. That if that is possible, they would like to have them all denied. Then the second priority would be that the board would review 7421 in its original location at the mid-block location. There are, I believe, residents in River Highlands that are impacted directly here that may want to speak up. But the staff is looking to the board to see if the intersection is how we would want to proceed, or if we should move forward with the originally proposed location as submitted on October 15th.
Thank you, Jason. Are there individuals from River Highlands that would like to speak today? Yes, sir. Just come forward, state your name and address for the record, and let us know your thoughts.
Thanks, Mayor Fadness. Thanks, Board. My name is Brad Rochford. I'm the president of the River Highlands HOA. First off, I'll say thank you for allowing us to have an opportunity to speak. I know it's a difficult and complex situation to keep everybody happy and maintain. Sure. The request of Verizon, I'm going to provide a brief statement from the HOA's perspective, but it will incorporate several of the people behind me. We've got several residents that would, I think, like to express their opinion and their feedback regarding this. I think first off, I'd like to describe, so River Highlands has 54 sites today. We have no common area. Well, we have a very small common area with 2 light poles outside of our front entrance. So any proposed tower would be immediately on one or multiple homeowners' property. Our official stance from an HOA is that we oppose both towers. As we look to do this, we've provided Verizon with a request previously to move one of the towers, not 7421, but the other tower, to move it between 50 and 150 feet. That was denied. We requested that to be moved into our common area to share the same light poles as existing lighting. That was not approved, and so therefore we're asking that that be reconsidered. Specifically, I'll give grounds on why we oppose the towers in general. I think it'll be common across a lot of neighborhoods, but the health concerns, we have several neighbors within our area that do have existing health issues, including one of the people next door to the men's that has an existing heart issue, and there are concerns from many, many residents within our neighborhood about what that long-term impact will be. I would like to note that there are many cities and municipalities across the U.S. that are postponing the installation of 5G towers based on health concerns and allowing that to be studied. Outside of health issues, the aesthetics. Our neighborhood, we feel strongly that the proposed locations are obstructive to the neighborhood. They impact sight lines. They impact housing values. The Francis is behind me and the men's behind me will talk to that. But we can appreciate the situation we're in. However, a tower at 40 feet tall and directly in front of a homeowner's driveway and/or front windows is significantly impactful. And the final point is that one of the proposed locations we believe is too close to a fire hydrant. So from a code perspective, we think that that should not be approved and should be considered further. I'll be brief in this part, but from an HOA perspective, our official request is to deny both tower locations. If that is not an option, we would like to request that the city and Verizon work with us on alternative locations. We'd like the one tower moved 50 to 100 feet onto our common area.
Can you be specific to which one that is?
Yeah, if you can go to.
Not this one, but the other one, I
Yeah,
assume?
It's tower. Yeah, correct.
7466?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
If you notice to the northeast from there, at the bottom of River Highlands Hill, there's two existing light poles. That is common area for the neighborhood. There are no houses immediately adjacent to that. It would be significantly advantageous to post the tower there and not in its existing location directly across from a house.
I'm not following where the.
Yeah, I'm not following. Can you?
If you can zoom, sorry, it's hard for me from here, directly to the, yeah, zoom further. The trees are probably overshadowing it. There, no, it's to the left. Correct, just north of there at the outside bend of that road, a little further right. A little further down, it's right along the road. That's pretty close. If you notice, there's no houses sitting right there. At the current location, it's directly in front of the driveway. I don't know the house address of the house to the south of it, but yeah. Not to mention the Eatons and the other house directly north of the 7466 are both impacted. So you've got a location that has 3 houses impacted versus a common area that has no homes.
Okay.
So that would be our first request. Moving back to the alternate, or to the other location, I know Christy Menz will be speaking on this from a coverage standpoint. We would like to express opposition to both the 7421 address, and more specifically, we'd like to provide strong opposition to the proposed yellow location. We believe, and Christy will detail some of this in her part, but we believe that service could be provided from Allisonville Road or the city maintenance building to the southwest of the golf course. Specific to 7421, the revised location, that is potentially the most impactful location in the entire neighborhood for a tower. It's directly in front of the Francis' house. Their house is at an angle, as you can tell. It would be directly in their front yard. That location is wide open. There's no tree coverage. There's no nothing. So coming from both directions on River Highlands Drive, you see that thing from blocks away. We believe that that would have the strongest impact from a property valuation standpoint to the Francises. And again, I don't want to speak completely on their behalf, but from an HOA perspective, we oppose that location explicitly.
Okay.
Did you see these pictures?
Yep. Yeah, I think we got the pictures in an email as well.
Perfect, and I took some video today that I couldn't submit, but, because of large files, but so our ask would be, if the city would be open to it, we would really like to work with the city and with Verizon to walk through the neighborhood and come up with a alternative solution to what we've got here.
Thank you. Before we comment, is there anyone else that would want to comment before we deliberate?
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mayor Fadness.
Hello.
And board, hello. Thank you again for letting us to continue to talk about this. It's obviously important to the neighbors. One of the things that I left on your desk is how important our neighborhood feels this discussion is. We have, since I was here last time on October 15th, I did some research. I looked at some coverage maps. I studied Verizon's website and some of those things. And I also talked to my neighbors. You know, we all talk to each other, and everybody's got some concerns. And so they were concerned enough that they came together and signed a petition. So the petition is on your desk, and it represents 49 of the 54 homes in River Highlands of concerns that people have. The homes that aren't included on the petition were, people were out of town and those types of things. So you've got a lot of concerned citizens in River Highlands. So I just wanted to express that to let you know it's not just about me and my home. So what I guess I would like to reiterate from Brad's perspective is, I think what we would really appreciate and be grateful for is just a continued conversation about looking at the neighborhood, looking at the different views, the different opportunities to satisfy both Verizon's need to cover the neighborhood, and then, you know, to kind of provide some ease of mind to our neighbors. As mentioned, I think that, you know, the pattern that was started north of Conner Prairie, where we've got similar neighborhoods, similar size, similar distance from Allisonville Road. They're being serviced by towers along Allisonville Road. So I'm wondering if that's an opportunity that we can look at, moving a tower out to Allisonville. And then on the backside, if we need additional support, again, looking at that property that's owned by the city near River Glen Country Club.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Any other comments? Hello, sir.
Hello, and thank you for letting me voice my views today. I'm the yellow pin. My name is Kent Francis. I've lived at 7438 River Highlands Drive for about 30 years. We were the third home in River Highlands. I put my house on that lot, catty-cornered, at the request of the developer. He asked, since we were a neighborhood without light poles, if I would mind doing that for the flow of the neighborhood. I object to that spot because I don't think anybody's taken into consideration the grade. My house sits 20 feet higher than the street. You put a pole in the middle of my front yard at the height that it is. Every morning I will wake up and open my bedroom blinds, and my picture window will look right into that tower, right at eye level. And I'd like to ask everyone here, would you want that? Would you like to see that every morning when you wake up? We had some realtors look at the home, look at the thought, and there's a significant decline in market value by putting it there. My wife and I don't know if you can tell, we're not spring chickens. We're trying to retire. And part of our financial plan was to use the equity in that home to retire on. Now you've diminished my ability to retire. You know, to me, that's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and you're taking away my pursuit of happiness. There's no trees on that yard at all. The reason for it, before we moved there, I lived on an acre lot that had nothing but trees, and we said we would never rake again, and we haven't. The other thing I'd like to bring up to Verizon is, over the 30 years, that stop sign's been replaced about 5 times. That's a school bus turnaround. Our cul-de-sacs are not large enough for a school bus to turn in the cul-de-sac. So every morning, there are 2 or 3 buses that stop, back up in that T, and pull around. With that, that stop sign has been hit, like I said, 4 or 5 times, knocked over. That is the lowest point back in that neighborhood on this section 4. Just so you know, that floods approximately 10 to 15 feet up into my yard twice a year because the storm drain gets clogged with leaves. So to Verizon, you're going to have that thing underwater twice a year. So I respectfully request that you really consider this and take that pin off that map for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that wishes to speak? The Mr. Walt Kelly.
Mayor Fadness and the board, I'd just like to say I haven't been to too many meetings since I left office. I think this is my third. And I know that the community has always worked very strongly and very well with the homeowners association. So I appreciate just observing that while I live there, I just appreciate the process that you're observing, allowing people to comment, and I'm hopeful that I think I made the comment where there's a will, there's usually a way that works for all if they're willing to take the time. I have every confidence that the board and Mayor Fadness, working with Verizon, as tough as it is with the legislation, could probably find some of the options that were pointed out that would solve all that. And I just hope that continues. I'm still living in Fishers and always will, so thank you.
Thank you, Walt. So on this particular one, I believe it was upon the board's recommendation that we moved it off the mid-block and over to the intersection under contemplating the fact that it would cause an adverse impact to the 4 homeowners in this area. And in general, and I would just say in general, we've been successful in a lot of the neighborhoods by moving it to an intersection because it has less of an impact. But that doesn't mean that that's the case every time. And so I appreciate folks coming forward and stating the situation as they see it from their homes. And I will tell you, our goal has been to balance the desire to see new technology in our community with the adverse impacts on any particular homeowner, which is really what we're trying to protect our residents from, is just these being thrown everywhere without any contemplation or consideration for what that impact is on the homeowner. So the gentleman from the HOA board, a question for you, I guess. When it was contemplated at 7421, in your conversations with the residents there, and I don't recall off the top of my head if any of the homeowners were here last time from that section. But have you folks had? So can you talk to me about maybe the impact as it was contemplated here? Just so I have a better understanding, because we did move it off of here, I recall this.
Yeah, the major impact is really those 4 homes. 7421, I believe, is an easement between my home, which is 7423, and the home south of me. That's right in between our homes. That's right in front of basically 4 big windows. Those 4 homes look straight at it. In addition to that, Steve, I have a hard time pronouncing his last name. He was here last time as well.
Yeah.
And he has some serious concerns about, I hope that he's okay with my mentioning this. He mentioned it when he was here that he has a pacemaker,
right.
And those types of things. And he's concerned that sleeping within 25 feet of that or whatever the distance is could be problematic for him. So he spends his time, in his bedroom and his office there, both right there on that corner. So
Gotcha.
That's a concern for him. The neighbors across the street have nice, beautiful windows looking straight at it. So they have some serious, impact as well. And then, of course, our home, it's right there at our corner as well.
I remember that now.
So those 4 homes are the most impacted, but it's very visible all the way down the street because there aren't a lot of trees blocking that tower. Are
there any additional questions for the residents from any of the board members here, Jeff or Jason?
No.
So my reflection of this is, or thoughts on this, is that we've been pretty consistent in our denial of mid-block locations where you have multiple homes that are right directly looking at these cell towers. And where plausible, we have moved them to the intersections to make it, because those intersections were better places and less of an adverse impact on homeowners. I think the homeowner that stood up here a little bit ago, I can't see you over the podium, but you're there, I see you. He did a very articulate job of demonstrating why this particular intersection has some pretty adverse impacts on his home.
his view.
on his view, yeah. So I guess my inclination is to table this location. And I do believe the residents here have demonstrated a willingness to try to work with Verizon to come up with some sort of solution, albeit not at a mid-block where you got 4 homes directly staring at it, or out the picture window of a man's bedroom. If there's some other solution that we can find, I feel like these neighbors are willing to try to figure that out, and I don't know why we wouldn't give them the opportunity to do that. Jeff?
Yes, so, yes, concur with what you're saying. My only concern would be is that if we've tabled this once, and I'm not sure where we are on the clock with respect to that, and not letting it just, by tabling it again, letting it by default be approved, because there's.
Just for the folks here, there's under the federal law that preempts locals, it also put a shot clock in that said once they file the permit, if we don't take action, that within a certain number of days, it becomes, the permit gets approved. So, Chris, I don't know where we're at on the shot clock, so to speak, on this. Jason, do you recall?
I don't have the original date it was submitted, but in conversations with Chris, I would need him to confirm that we are still in our waiver process due to it being in the neighborhood. So we would have some ability to go back and look at this 7421 location and see if there is somewhere amenable between all parties.
Okay. So is there a motion to table?
So one question though, there's been a request too of the already approved site. So
To
are we
see if you
tabling both? Are we able to do that, Chris? Or is 7466 is already set in stone?
I would say that because you approved it at the last meeting,
Yep.
and because there are some vested rights with respect to the permit application, that the former approved site is already approved, and
Okay.
that the focus of this one right now should be 7421.
So there's been some comments about shifting things around maybe to accommodate the 7421 relocation. So if Verizon's agreeable, to move already a set location somewhere else to accommodate maybe another area, is that in their ability to do that? There's no restrictions to that? Or they gotta come back and say, we wanna reapprove
Sure, I mean,
this
I think
location?
as a city, we'd certainly be willing to work with them on that if the shifting of the location helped. What I'm telling you, I guess, is because they have filed the application and because this board's approved the application, we can't then take that application and that location away from them without a future agreement from Verizon.
Yeah, okay, I wanna make that clear, because that was part of the discussion.
So is there a motion to table 7421?
Motion to table 7421.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And folks, just so you know, our staff will be reaching back out to you to see if we can't find an alternative solution somewhere that doesn't have such adverse impacts on homeowners. Thank you, guys.
And
Have a
Mayor,
good Thanksgiving.
On this one, August 28th, there's a meeting date initially, so I don't know if that's when it started, the permit, but probably right around there is my
Potentially.
guess.
We'll make sure to look at that.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Bluestone neighborhood, we have,
Weaver Woods
I'm sorry,
first.
Weaver Woods. My apologies, I was looking at the wrong item. Request to approve residential waiver to install small cell facilities in Weaver Woods. Jason?
Yes, Jason Taylor, Director of Engineering. Before you, there are a number of locations that Verizon has submitted for Weaver Woods. We have met with the HOA, and they are not agreeable to any locations, but understand that there's a process, and if they are approved, they would like to make revisions to them. They would like to have replace a light for 14320. And then for 8775, they would want to move it to the existing light to the north. And that was suggested by the HOA. And then for 8700, they are requesting, they're okay with that, but they are requesting that it is not a light. They do not have one on there. Then on 8792, They are requesting to move it by the pond, but it was not able to be done, so they are understanding and are requesting that it does not have a light on it. So I went through a large number of them, so if we would like, we can go through each one individually.
I think I understand. Just so I'm clear though, Verizon has agreed to the requests in terms of lights or no lights. They've agreed to those for all 5 sites?
Correct.
Okay. All right, is there anyone here from Weaver Woods that'd like to speak? Seeing none, are there any questions, comments, or observations from the board?
Yes.
Jason?
All right, so I'm going to step through some of these here. Jason T.
Yes.
Too many Jasons. So 14320, it's in a corner. It doesn't look like it's impeding anyone's line of sight out of their windows and things like that. And that's the only request there was if it has to be there, no street light lamp, correct?
They were wanting that one to replace the existing light.
So they replace it with
that is
another
there.
light.
Okay. And then, so maybe focus on the ones of area of potential conflict. 8700 Providence Drive. That one's like in the middle of everyone's windows and such. Has there been consideration of one of the corners to the left or right of that location?
It was discussed to relocate to the intersections, but Verizon stated they would not be able to relocate to those because it would they would not be able to obtain their coverage area and objectives. So the HOA understood this, and that is their request to have it removed, the light removed from that location.
Any additional questions, Jason?
I was looking at 14325 as well. It seems like that one could move around the corner. And it's, instead of a quadrant of homes, it's only 2 perhaps in that open area. I don't understand 50 feet, 75 feet to around the bend in that open area.
Do we want to talk about the, like, one at a time, or are we going to try to go back and?
Well, I think the other question fundamentally for this board is if the HOA has said okay to these.
Well, no, I didn't get the sense that they said okay. I think that they understood.
They were forced to.
Correct.
Yes, that's what I'm.
That's what I'm sensing, Mayor.
Okay.
So
14320, based on its location and their Verizon's agreement, it seems like it's just replacing a light anyway. So
right.
I don't know why we would have an issue with 14320.
No issue.
8775 looks like it's in a reasonable location as well on the corner. And they've agreed to replace the light there, so we're fine on that one.
Yep.
So we moved to the 8700 location, which is mid-block, kind of right in the middle of.
It's directly in front of the home on the, I guess would be, what I'm viewing as the south, but.
It's a quadrant of
side
homes.
of the street. There's a couple homes. I mean, this falls into this does not fit the method and the madness of our approach of what we've done.
And they, it looks like mid-block, and asked if Verizon can move it. Verizon said no. I don't know the details about that, but I'm sure Jason probably asked that they move it to an intersection or a common area.
Yes, we had asked them to move it to either intersection, and that's where the feedback was given that they wouldn't be able to obtain their coverage area due to the trees.
Okay. And then if you go to 14325,
That could just be moved in the corner.
and Jason's asking there, Jason, whether there's any contemplation of it moving to the north.
I guess east.
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear you, but I think that
Sorry.
14325, you're
14325, the question was if it could not have been moved up the bend slightly
To the northeast,
to the northeast.
It was not discussed that it would be shifted to the north slightly, the northeast, I think, where you're saying that there's a property line
Yeah.
right there.
And then,
I think you would be in a similar situation with where the existing location is at, that instead of one picture window that you're in front of, you are now in front of potentially 2 or 3.
and then 8792 looks like it's right in the middle of, I mean,
Yes, there's a intersection, T.
yeah.
So Jason, are you aware, is there existing lamps at these locations that they're gonna replace?
Not on the other.
There are some that are existing lights that they are replacing, and then the ones that are mid-block have been requested that they are not replaced with lights or placed with lights.
There's nothing there.
Okay,
In
there's-
the mid-block ones.
Yeah, the mid-block, so.
Correct.
14,325, 8,700, and 8,792, there's nothing currently.
No.
So, Mayor,
Correct.
I mean, my feeling is table 8,700, 14,325, and 8,792 for further study. And then the other two are okay. They follow our guidelines and our rules that we follow to engage and approve. That would be my motion.
Okay. Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. I think we do probably need to provide some direction on these 3. I think, again, just our guidelines being further review and evaluation of whether they can be moved to intersections or common areas that might provide for a lesser impact on the individual homeowners. Is that fair?
Yes, yes.
So with a motion and second on the table, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor, do you mind repeating which ones were tabled?
Yes, be happy to. It's 8792, 8700, and 14325 were tabled. 8775 was approved, and 14320 was approved.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we are now moving on to. Yeah, right.
Well, which one, we got Bluestone?
Are you
we got
Bluestone?
Harrison Woods.
Oh, we got.
Hey, we'll do Harrison Woods first, just so you can get home. There you go. So sorry for.
Thanks for your patience.
You got you lost the bet. You got the last one on the agenda. So Jason, we have a gentleman here, so we're gonna go ahead and do Harrison Woods next.
Okay.
And Jason, you give us a quick rundown, then we'll hear from our resident here. So Jason, you want to give us a quick summary?
Yes. For the record, Jason Taylor, Director of Engineering. Before you is Harrison Woods. There are 2 proposed sites, 13667 and also 8532. The HOA has worked with Verizon and engineering staff on these locations. They are not in favor of any of the locations, and in discussions with Verizon, it appears that 8532 has not been revised. There was a request to move 13667 to the pond, which is slightly to the northwest near the common area. It's slightly off of just off of the exhibit that you see. Verizon has stated they cannot achieve their coverage area if they were to move these. We also worked with Verizon to see if we could move one to one of the intersections, but again, if you move 13667 to the intersection, they stated that 8532 would be too close and they wouldn't be able to get some of the coverage area as well. We are here before you today with the proposed locations as presented with feedback from Verizon that they cannot be shifted, except that maybe 8532 could go slightly to the north to help with view sheds for the property owners.
Okay. Sir, would you like to state your name and address?
Thanks, Jason. Sure. Hi, my name is Robert Ellison. I'm the Vice President of the Harrison Wood HOA. I live at 8548 Ardens Drive, right across the street from our old friend Cece Hendricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys are familiar with that neighborhood.
I am.
Those 2 little streets are Harrison Woods, but also all the homes to your left on the main Continental Parkway, about a dozen of those are considered Harrison Woods as well to the park. We had a good call with Tammy and the team, and as you heard, that Verizon said we can't move any of them because it doesn't meet their coverage design requirements. I'm thrilled to hear that the board is considering other options. What I didn't hear was a ruling on the first option from River Highlands, and that was we don't want any of them. I mean, that's not even an option, right? We can't just say no.
It's not an option
Okay.
from our legal perspective. The federal government doesn't allow us to say, well, we just don't want these, or we believe they're bad for the health. In fact, we're prohibited from even making considerations of health as a factor in this discussion. So we really are, for our purposes, trying to evaluate the best possible locations we can find that have the least amount of undue burden on an individual homeowner. And where we can find those solutions, we try to make that happen. And when we absolutely can't, that's when we say, hey, look, we're just not going to approve this permit.
Sure.
And so that's the exercise you find us going through here. So I certainly appreciate a neighborhood expressing their desire not to have any, but.
Understood.
So from your perspective.
So Jason, do you have the email? We sent you a drawing where we had arrows with our recommended locations. We sent it to Tammy last week. And if you don't, I'm happy to just point it out. You don't?
I apologize. I do not have that in front of me.
Is it possible for you to zoom out just a little bit? Well, that doesn't help, but to see more of the neighborhood, do you actually have the, that's in the email? Do you have the other, the broader drawing like the Jeep, like Google Maps or something?
He's got it here, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, there you go. So we're blessed to live by Harrison Park, right? There's that big, beautiful park that we have, Harrison Park there. What we're suggesting for, and I'm going to point this.
Yep, sure.
By the way, I had a COVID test this morning.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
So welcome to our meeting. Site location on Acadia Place that they're proposing way down here.
Yeah.
This is common ground that's less than 100 yards away. This whole area is common and open area to the city, to the street. And it's less than 100 yards away. There's only one house in between them and that location. And we'd love to see it put over on that side over there.
Gotcha.
The same thing in this one on Ardennes Drive. There's only one house between here and the back of the baseball fields. There's about a 30-foot wide swath of nice grass right through here through the baseball fields that could go back here, so it doesn't have to bother anybody's homes in this area. That is our first choice.
Okay.
The second choice would be, and I like what you said, because we have no lights in our neighborhood whatsoever, no poles, no nothing. As soon as that goes away, was to take advantage of the option and get a street light at this intersection. Move this one to here. Put it on this corner.
Is that down to, is that Acadia Place? Is that what you're referring to? That road, that intersection?
The corner of Acadia Place and Ardennes Drive on that corner there, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
We'd love to have a street light there at that intersection.
Okay. Were those considerations when you talked to Verizon?
Yes, they were. They're in our email back to Tammy and the Verizon team.
And
the comment was, you have too many beautiful trees that block our stuff, just like the River Glen guys, so.
Right. When I look at, let's see here,
8532 is in the bid.
Bigger map of the Verizon dots, there's none around that park and within many blocks of the park. So the park seems like a wonderful location.
Jason, do you know whether or not there was any consideration for the park property?
Which park property are you referring to?
Harrison Park.
It's to the north.
No, I do not believe so. There is the other aspect of this that there are the master planned locations that Verizon has submitted that each individual neighborhood has. I'm trying to follow where you guys are speaking. I apologize. I wish I was actually there.
So to the north of this neighborhood, to that cul-de-sac where the one tower is being contemplated.
Correct.
well, what number is it?
That was actually looked at. That location that you're referring to right there on Connor Knoll Parkway, it was requested to be relocated there, and that is the response that they would not get their coverage area if they relocated there.
The 13667. And if you're standing in that guy's front yard where they're gonna put the tower, that you can see the green piece, the green spot where the commonplace area is less than 100 yards away.
Yeah.
Neither one of these locations, based on past discussions at the board level, are appropriate, given the locations.
There's, so if you look at the one on the curve.
Yep, page 532.
There's, if they were to move that 40 feet to the north, 30 feet to the north, you would line up on driveways, you could thread the needle, so to speak, where you weren't in front of picture windows. If, so, scroll down, Tracy, if you can keep scrolling down. Keep going. There. Oh, too far. Go back up. A little bit more. There, right there. So, you got, oh, that's good, Tracy. Right now, it's right in front of this picture window here. But I think if you were to move it to right here, you've got garage, side house, garage, side house, side of the house, side of the house. You could thread the needle there to some extent and not have an adverse impact on any one of those 4 homes, based on just what I'm seeing. But if you put it here,
It's actually right across from that gentleman's driveway.
On the car.
yeah.
Where that white truck was to back out, he was gonna back right into that hole.
So ideally, you would have it further here, but not too far where you get into that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and provides lighting.
Also, Mayor, right here in between these 2 yards, there's already a big, there's a big power box there, a big telephone box there. So back in here might not be a bad thing as well.
Yeah.
Just move it across the street to where all those utilities are at.
That one seems like there's a solution. I'm not sure the other one is.
You're gonna, if you go across the street, you're gonna have tree problems right there. That's what you're looking at.
There's a big tree there now already.
That's gonna be.
Is that one not a good option for that intersection, so we can get a street light?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We can definitely find out whether that's a possibility.
Mayor,
Yeah.
were you speaking of 8532
Yes.
and moving it slightly north?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one that Verizon has went back and stated that they can move that up north slightly, approximately 30 to 50 feet, and so that it is maybe splitting those driveways and also shielded from the front window of the property owner.
On the east side of the road, though.
Can we, yeah, if we can do that, can we bring that back to the next agenda item and see what that looks like, Jason?
Most certainly.
The other one, yeah, I'm not sure what you can do on that one.
It needs to be
There's
considered
no location in the cul-de-sac that would.
southeast almost, before the cul-de-sac.
And I think one of the things that your neighborhood is gonna have to, I got a text message from our engineering director. I mean, although we're contemplating 2, I think their master plan for your neighborhood is several sites throughout the neighborhood, and that's where I think we're just gonna have to be selective about, which ones impact individuals. And this one seems like it's adversely impacting 4 or 5 homes. So on this one, I would table it. I don't know that I have any general direction to them, other than we're not gonna be doing this in front of 5 homeowners.
Right.
Yeah, they don't like to come and. Like these folks in River High.
Yeah, right. So I guess I would entertain a motion to table the one and contemplate moving it 40 feet to the north, seeing what that looks like.
North or northeast? same side of the road or the opposite?
I,
Yeah, that,
If there's, I mean, I'm looking at a different map where, because Verizon seems to keep wanting to talk about trees. I mean, the other side of the street seems to be a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
It puts it in between driveways again.
well,
So-
we certainly contemplate that. So we'll table that one with the thought of 40 feet to the north, preferably move it to the northeast side. Now we look at the west side. And then the other tower, we would table, given to it, it's just its burden on the
Yeah.
homes along this cul-de-sac.
Yep.
So is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we'll be back in touch with you and your neighborhood shortly. Yep. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you guys.
We have one final item, is a request to approve residential waivers to install small cell facilities in Bluestone. I believe on this one, and I'll just make this relatively quick, this one, I believe they came to an agreement on.
Yeah, they reversed it
Correct.
to a corner.
Correct, so they've agreed to this one, and unless there's someone on the line that would like to speak on behalf of Bluestone, I don't believe I hear anybody. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.